thank you very much for joining. Today's webinar, we've got a huge number of webinars coming up, and some of you, I've seen the names on there, repeat webinar joiners. So I'm glad you're liking the content and what we're doing. So look, let's start today's Fireside Chat. It's a little bit different maybe to some of the other webinars we've run, but we're giving this one a go, and hopefully it works well. Look, let me introduce myself. My name's Nick Cooper. I'm the CFO here at ezyCollect, and alongside all things finance, I also have responsibility for credit risk and the work we do around fraud protection and activities that all that work and operate within that. So I'll also allow my co-hosts here, Jane and Ricardo, to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Nick. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you're joining, everyone. Thanks for joining us here. My name is Jane Evio. I'm the head of customer success here in ezyCollect. I also look after the payments operations side of things here. I'm really glad that you could join us today. I think this will be really interesting and fun. We have some really cool topics that we'd like to talk to you about. And yeah, I pass it over to my colleague, Ricardo.
Hey everyone, I'm Ricardo. I'm the CTO here in ezyCollect, and it's been such a pleasure being part of the journey so far. I've been helping out with the tech and product side of the business, and I'm excited to share some of the stuff we are working on. Yeah.
Excellent. Just before we continue to the agenda, I just wanted to mention some housekeeping rules. So just a reminder, this webinar is only a listen-in mode. So if you have any questions, there should be a Q&A little chat box here where you can pop in your questions at any time, and we'll have a look there and answer it along the way. Otherwise, we'll give some time towards the end to make sure that we answer your questions. If you also want to say hi on the chat there and let us know where you're joining from today, please do so. Just pop in there to make sure that you can all hear us, because that's very important. We want to make sure that we are chatting, and you can hear us as well. So if you just chat there where you're joining us from, we are actually all in our Sydney head office. How we wish that we were actually in a warm, cozy den.
A Sydney
somewhere.
log cabin. We're in our Sydney log cabin.
Where there's snow, but there, as you know, there isn't. So
that would be nice.
Yeah, it'll be really nice. Yes. But okay, let's get started because we have a lot of things to talk about today.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. So like I said, Q&A, fireside chat, look, really focusing on how we eliminate late payments. We make 2023 the year for business growth, because we know there's a lot of challenges out there, and we want to have this conversation in the context of those, because we can't ignore all of those things. We're going to try and walk through the three biggest trends we see in B2B payment tech that's coming up, and we'll give you a little bit of an insight into our roadmap before sort of jumping into some Q&A if we've got time and time permitting. So all right, just let's get into it. So next slide is, you got to pardon the pun here, winter is coming, both from a seasonal point of view in reality, but also just I guess the looming storm potentially that we've got ahead of us around high inflation and interest, etc. It's nothing that hasn't been predicted for the last couple of months, but it's it's still continuing. When inflation is going to stop rising, we don't know. When is the interest rates going to stop rising? We're going to have to chat with the RBA and maybe we can sort something out, but it's all out of our control. What do these things do? They obviously increase the cost of borrowing. They reduce that consumer demand, and that just ultimately erodes our profits, which is not great. And we've got methods and levers we can pull as business owners, both yourselves and us. As we can raise prices, but that only has probably negative effects in the short term. Around customer loyalty and competitiveness, only helps fuel more inflation. It's not a great response. It's always there. We can look at improving our efficiency, but that takes time. There's some small, there's always that low-hanging fruit, small gains that can be made, but true efficiency and kind of long-term gains, they take time to implement and roll out. So nothing comes back for a while in terms of cash flow benefits. And you can look at diversifying markets, whether by products or geographic reasons. Again, it just takes a long time to be able to do all these things. So while we work to respond to these challenges you can see on the screen here, it's the one thing as ever remains true, and that is that we can control cash flow and our working capital, and that is still, and it hasn't changed, the lifeblood of any business. So being able to focus on those things will enable us to help future-proof our businesses as we go into 2023. It's one thing that's happened since COVID is it's really accelerated the digital transformation of businesses. It was led by B2C because obviously all consumers were very much shopping from home and transacting from home. But a lot of that is really now starting to bleed into B2B, and the space that we operate in, which is obviously servicing B2B customers. Is there we see the C-suites really pushing and driving for some of that technology to be made available into the B2B space. So it's where we're seeing this is, which is great for us, is the push and the kind of this drive to automate AP and AR processes of businesses. So, it's those trends, they're going to be here. They're sort of really starting to kick off this year, and they're going to continue on. So this is maybe a point for me to sort of throw across to Jane, Ricardo probably for this one, because he actually works really closely on the tech, and this is what we're talking about around cash flow management. What are you seeing? Australia is a little bit more advanced than other regions of the world, but definitely in the US. What do you see as the trends for 23 around this and tech-wise?
Cool. Sure. Thanks, Nick. Well, I think, as you mentioned as well early, one of the things is there is no going back. This is only moving forward as far as digitization goes. And we need to be aware of that and understand that the future is only going to be more digitized, and having the right technologies and processes that go with it is going to be really important for all businesses. That being said, we have seen that, and of course, like Australia is ahead in terms of tech than if you take for the US, and just by the amount of checks that you see flowing around the economy here is very, very low, but still very prevalent in there. And as a fintech company working exactly on the problem, we have a lot of data as well in regards to the impact of technology and products like ezyCollect for businesses generally, and for B2B in general. Jen, if you move to the next slide, what we see is that, like, if you have been a client of ezyCollect or before, or and if you're not, just as a brief summary, we do help automate accounts receivable processes and help you provide easy payment solutions for your customers to get to pay you, all at the same time while integrating and making your life easier by creating payment records automatically and getting you rid of that reconciliation job. But still, we see payments being late. All right, ezyCollect would always give you a good improvement, but there is always some late payments. And one of the reasons we see as to why this keeps happening even after you incorporate technology is that a lot can happen in between the moments that an order is placed, right? And you can see a very long dog there.
I love this dog. Yeah. I love the reference to it, Ricardo.
Because after the order is placed, right, and then maybe the fulfillment happens, the order is delivered, then your customer, who's also a business, they're going to stock that and they're going to want to sell it, and that's their priority. They're also growing their business, and any obstacle that they have in regards to pay creates another opportunity for the payment to be late, right? So if you're not providing the right payment methods, or if you're not making it easy to get paid, they also are focusing on growing in their business. So we try here at ezyCollect to build technology that benefits both ends, so that it makes it easier for them and you get paid faster, right? And if we take a look at an example of an order to cash process, you'll see that, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's a little bit more, a few more dogs that we need to talk about. Yeah, and the thing is that it's important to get a really strong commitment from your customer that he's going to pay you when the time comes, right? Because you're giving them basically a loan. Like if you're selling on accounts, which the majority of our account customers are, right? So, and you don't want that commitment to get lost throughout maybe 30 days term that you're giving them. And that's a mix of technology, yes, but it also requires like adaptation of processes and collaboration between departments, because not everything happens in the same place, right? Where the order is placed to the person that maybe is chasing and like reconciling the records on the ERP. And then now if we do take a look at the an order to cash process, and just to give you an idea from a conceptual level of what we're trying to do, you can see, of course, that in this order to cash process, we have put the actual payment date as after the expected payment date, because we know that to be very common. But what we are doing is saying, look, at the moment the order is placed, we can't expect it to be B2C, right? You can't just turn to your customer and say, from now on, everyone pays me at the moment the order is placed, because they're already used to having accounts and terms, and there is also good reason sometimes as to why this is the case. But you can get a greater commitment that you're going to get paid, and that's fair, right? So Jen, if you can just move to the next one, I'll just go briefly through it. So for us, in a nutshell, right, it's getting a very strong commitment from the customer saying, hey, I'm going to pay you. And how does that look? I'll show you in a different section, but it's something that we have to build for both ends, both for the customer to see value on it so that you want to do it, see something that helps them and makes their life easier. Then throughout the process, we create automation. And what that means is reducing the effort that your staff has to put in, right? Like either by automating things like sending invoices, sending statements, or creating records on the ERP, which is to keep your, all your ledger up to date, and like creating a payment and allocating. So automating and integrating throughout the process just to reduce the effort of maintaining that, and also makes it faster for you to be able to fulfill orders because everything is integrated. And then one big important point is then when the time comes, then we use the commitment we obtain at the beginning and process the payment automatically, right? And then the risk that you get paid late is reduced significantly.
That's really interesting. I like the concept and the idea of this, right? And like you said, it's a combination of technology, processes, right? Because without the process, the technology won't really work as such. So
yeah,
how is this reflected in ezyCollect? I'm quite curious.
Well, we'll talk about it. Just be patient.
Oh, come on, Ricardo, giving us a teaser there a little bit.
Forward sell.
Yeah.
That's fine. We'll give you. Is it not at 10 p.m. guys? That just stay tuned. That will come. Product roadmap a little bit later.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, trend 2, guys, is all about, and we sort of again forward sold this at the front of the session, is around where is payments going in the next year around, and the adoption of what I guess that innovation that we saw through COVID coming into the B2B space. And Jane, you work really closely. What's the kind of technology you see coming through or being asked for and requested from our clients, and stuff that we've got in place that can really help collect payments now?
Yeah, well, I already click on the next slide, so I might as well just do that again.
Jump in. Yeah.
Jump in again. But like what we've all been talking about here, we are so used to the B2C experience that each one of us obviously, shops and goes to an online store. Then when I talk to clients, they want the same experience, but in a different level, because obviously there's that part where they sell in credit, they have a very good relationship with their own customers and so forth. So what we're seeing is a version of the buy now, pay later, but in the B2B space. That's definitely something that's increasingly, being asked by our customers, and we definitely have that on the platform today. One-click purchase, what does that mean? I want to make it easy for my customers to pay me. Credit card, bank transfer, whatever that is. I don't want to have to think about it. Just purchase, put my order, and then go ahead, right? And then recently we've been talking to our clients who have, the e-commerce experience on the B2B space, because interestingly enough, they will have some customers who will pay on cash or cash on delivery and so forth. And they want to make sure that there is that streamlined and automated process coming from the e-commerce, that it is again integrated to the to their ERP. So what is this all about, right? So it's a whole different customer experience, or now what we're calling payment experience. And when our CSMs talk to our clients, when we talk to them, you know, when I invite you, both of you, to talk to our clients, like these are the things or the strategies that Ricardo was talking about in terms of save the order to cash process. How can we help them save cost, save time, and definitely boost their, you know, customer experience and customer satisfaction, right? Automation is a big part of it. We already talked about that. Again, like how fast can I get my payments? You know, I placed the order today. I want my orders to be out of the door this afternoon. And that is happening in the ezyCollect, because as soon as someone hits pay and then successful, we have that automatic payment allocation that will go back to their ERP and say, yep, paid, ready to ship, right? So this is in some of our warehousing clients. And then mentioned already, multiple payment options. Everyone wants the flexibility of I want to pay by this, I want to pay by Amex, I want to do this, and so forth, right? If you're not doing this today and you're still, you know, asking them to call you and give their credit cards, then you're missing out the opportunities that someone can be paying you today while you're on your coffee break or on your lunchtime, right? So these are just the things that, Nick, is really important today from a B2B perspective, right? And we've seen this already in some of the B2C, like big tech companies. I'm sure, I think you've talked about this in previous ones, but a lot of our B2C big tech companies have adopted something similar to this, isn't it?
Yeah, and actually did a webinar, I think it was like last year on this, but I sort of was basically drawing out, you know, we know the big tech guys, Amazon, Netflix, Uber, etc. I mean, these guys these are the ones who are at the cutting edge of, I guess, all of these innovations, and what we're trying to do is bring some of that into, like, say, the B2B space. You know, Amazon, one click you sort of had on your slide, Jane, but just to delve into that a bit further, they were seeing, back in the 90s, they were sort of seeing this cart kind of abandonment rate. It was up to 70%. You know, we've all, you know, we surf Amazon, you're looking at stuff, oh, I'll drop them in my cart. Then they were having this experience whereby it was really hard to pay, especially if you're a returning customer, and people were getting frustrated. Like, I've already given you my details, I just want to pay and move on. And so effectively they put a patent around this sort of one-click storing cards process, and it basically just started to really reduce the dropout rates from sales, and this saw sales go through the roof, and the rest is history. But you know, they were the ones who kind of brought that into play. You know, if you run subscriptions, or if you have any sort of subscription repeat customer business, you know, Netflix has been doing some amazing things behind the scenes. You know, we chop change. Our Netflix, we want to go from our standard definition to HD with 4 screens. Mid-month, maybe you want to have an introductory discount for the first, you know, it's 50% fee for the first month and 75% for the second. There is scheduling and payment scheduling technology that we've got whereby all of that is work behind the scenes. You don't want to be calculating going, well, they did half a month on 50% discount, then they upgraded their platform for this. It's just a real faff and a real nightmare. And you know, basically smart tech around sort of payments for those sorts of customers and those use cases really changes the way that people adopt and enter into subscriptions. So far more we see people just diving in and go, yeah, I'll give it a go for a month. And then once they see the huge value of the business, in this case Netflix, then, you know, they stay on. And then Uber Eats, like, you know, they just obviously dominated that taxi space. And you know what did they do? And do better than every other taxi service here in Australia anyway, at least, was payments. You know, you could pay by card. I remember as a teenager having to jump in a taxi going between houses and parties and friends' place. You'd have to go stop for cash. You'd have to get your Gregory's out and tell him where you were going because they didn't know what was happening. And, you know, they just brought technology and integrated it all across the process to really crush that existing taxi experience and make it better. So, and super frictionless. Like, I just click a button, I've paid, and I've ordered my taxi. It's beautiful. Sorry,
And
Dan.
you can even earn Qantas points actually like
And
that.
you can absolutely, you can
Yeah.
earn while you sit there and get chauffeured. So yeah,
Exactly. Well,
those
I
things are
think
great.
these are really great examples, right? But these are big tech companies. So now when we talk about applying these to our customers, who are in the SME space, I'm sure there's some question or some concerns about, having automated payments can be targets for fraud or security, right? We always have these questions coming up from time to time. Like, what's your take on this? Because obviously you're in our risk and finance. Like, how can we actually help businesses counteract this on a day-to-day operations from your perspective?
Yeah, and again, not wanting to sort of scaremonger our audience here, but fraud is on the increase, but it's actually increasing at a slower percentage than what card usage is growing. So, for example, in 2021, that's kind of the most recent sort of full year data that we've got. Basically card usage grew in Australia about 8%. But fraud grew at 5.7, so a small win, but it is growing nonetheless. And the cost and the management of fraud is increasing, I guess, as people become, criminals, should we call them, develop new ways and methods for scamming and trying to rip off merchants. But like I say, I don't want to scaremonger, because there is technology out there, and your payment companies, whether it be ezyCollect or others, should be using this to help protect you and ensure that you're not that part of that 5.7% that's growing year on year, and actually you're ahead of the game. So there's a couple of things we can do here, and I'll just jump straight into the second part of it, which is the technology. There's from a client point of view, how can you put their mind at ease so that when they're paying through you or an ezyCollect, that they are not being exposed to their card numbers and not getting used. And it's all around tokenization and the storing of that information securely, not by us, not by you, third party, sort of huge encryption, basically reducing that risk of fraud to zero. And that has to be being done. It's no longer can, and I don't think it was ever really a thing, but there might have been some instances where cards were not being stored, and never by us, but it's a thing that your payment provider must have that, and that gives the client peace of mind to know that when they're using and paying online, that those cards that can't be compromised, because effectively we're never passing the card information, we're passing a secure token between ourselves and the merchant and the banks, etc.
Okay, so we're not saving the card numbers, right?
Absolutely not saving card numbers. There's no cards in any way getting saved. So then from a you point of view, you our audience, the businesses, there's a couple of things. One I haven't got on here, one I do have, which is 3DS. So 3DS technology is pretty much a must. It's in Europe, where I've got experience. It's pretty much mandatory in Singapore and Asia, Southeast Asia. It's a must-have on every transaction. Here in Australia, it's optional. Your bank will definitely have it, but you have to sort of turn it. The card users have to turn it on. But effectively, what happens with 3DS is it will have all done it. You're buying something online. You'll get you'll pause in your cart. You'll get a text message, a one-time PIN from your bank, which will pop up. You enter that. Then the cart continues through. Now, the beauty of 3DS is if you have this enabled as a technology, it shifts the any fraudulent activity, if that was the case, to the bank. So we've all dealt with chargebacks, I'm sure. For those who don't know, what chargeback is, when, say, someone who has is trying to use a stolen card to pay for something online, the real user says, "Hey, I don't recognize that," and they charge that back, and you sort of end up having to wear the cost of that fraud. Now, 3DS shifts that responsibility, that liability for that, to the bank, because effectively it's their technology which is routing that transaction through a secure loop. And if it fails, then it's on them. So it's from protection for a business, it's a great piece of tech to ensure that your clients are the clients who they say they are, and they're using cards which they're enabled to be used. Another one, like I say, which I haven't got on there, which is Ricardo and mine, is our pet, one of our pets at the moment, is, I guess, transaction monitoring and the algorithms and the smart AI around that. So on our platform, we have constant fraud monitoring and tracking on all transactions. We get early fraud warnings and detections. We stop transactions which hit a number of certain parameters that we deem not to be safe, and you are protected from that fraud. So that kind of smarts in the way that payments are happening online, we're constantly feeding and evolving that, helps protect you as a business to ensure that you have very minimal chargebacks. And we see super little chargebacks within our, partly because of we operate in the B2B world where it's, services are delivered and payments is typically after the fact, and it's very much in the B2C. But for those who are dabbling in that B2C space as maybe a side business or sort of an additional channel, it's something you must be aware of, because that's where it definitely starts to escalate a bit more.
Right. And all these technology, Nick, this is something we already do, right? And we pass
Absolutely.
that to our clients who's using the platform, everything, to give that peace of mind. Like, we're not just talking about, hey, plug in payments, we're talking about all these extra securities that
100%.
they can offer.
Absolutely. It's I think, to operate in this space and have, like I say, peace of mind collecting your payments in this way, you really need to have these. And if your payment providers don't have them, you should be requesting them and asking them, or moving to one that does.
Yeah, I think it's just in saying all of these things, right? Because obviously Ricardo's itching to talk about our product, because I do want to ask about how this all ties into ezyCollect, right? Like, do you have any shiny new thing to show us or to talk to us about? I know earlier on, you gave us a little bit of a teaser there. So I just wanted to see if you're ready to talk about it now, Ricardo.
I can be convinced.
Oh, okay.
It'll be my pleasure. But yeah, just before jumping in, and I think, and this is something we hold very dearly, which is the mission to eliminate late payments. It's something we're always striving for, and that sets the context for everything that we're going to talk about here.
Such a big mission, right? But we live and breathe
it
every
is.
day.
Yeah. It's sometimes you look at it and it's such a hard thing. But that's what keeps us engaged, right? Like doing hard things. I think
Exactly.
the same for everyone. But yeah, so in terms of the roadmap, if we could move to the next one, I'm going to focus on a specific part of our roadmap here, which is related to what I talked about earlier with the commitment to pay. And this is really super important to keep in mind, that even though we are talking primarily about 0 days late for our direct clients, right, a business, we do understand that this cannot be achieved without creating a win-win for both sides, from both our direct clients and their customers, because when it's B2B, there is a relationship there. You want to expand that, you want to grow together, and that's going to be beneficial for everyone. And two, it's more effective, right? If we create value across the chain, there is more, it's a larger likelihood that your customer will be willing to also, work with you in regards to processes and tech that you want to use, right? So this is the focus of today. Before I go into that, in the next slide, you'll be able to see a little bit of what we have done. If we can move to the next one.
Is this the big thing now? I'm going
Bigger
to the
event.
next slide. Yeah. Okay.
No. So this is just a refresher. If you have been to some of our roadmaps before, the big way we believe that we are going to be able to really crack the 0 days late is through smart contracts, which is an advanced way to incorporate tech into your process and pretty much eliminate the need to ever even call someone or send an email, say, hey, can you pay me? And because everything just happens automatically. And you can see the person there in the chair with the 0 days late, like she's very comfortable because it is.
No more chasing.
No more chasing, no more creating
Clean up
payment
for the day.
records.
That could be Nick too.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
and just done, just getting some good deserved break time. And then with that in mind, just want to go through a few of the things we have actually accomplished since we have last showed our roadmap, and which is in the next slide.
Okay.
All of this is what we showed previous time as things we were going to do. We have done all of them. So you can now embed our payment solution within your platform, even within your e-commerce. we have leveraged and explored the power of payment authorities to allow you to collect invoices whenever you want, sales orders, or even just leave it in an automatic schedule where the invoices are collected automatically when their due date comes. And we even started exploring with a little bit more complex processes where, for example, if you're a business that takes a 50% deposit when the order is placed, and perhaps another 50% before the order is fulfilled, let's say because you are still sourcing the stock, and then once you have the stock, you want to get that extra 50% before you deliver. We have also created automation for that specific scenario where it's also integrated with your accounting system.
I just must say, Ricardo, in that AutoCollect side of things, wherein it's scheduled to be collected. So I know you were working with one client who had it scheduled to collect 1,100 plus invoices collected on that day, and she was just sitting and watching being collected.
Yeah, because that about 1,500 even.
Yeah. Unbelievable. It's just like, and then as that were being collected, it, like you said, it just automatically allocated to those invoices in the ERP being closed and up to date, right? So must have been an amazing feeling. I mean, one of our CSM was on the phone with her and like looking through that. So yeah, just wanted to say that one is like game changer.
Massive.
We want everyone to feel the feeling of like things just that used to be a hard job just happen automatically. That's a great feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And so on top of this, what else do we have then?
Okay, so yeah, what I want to focus today is in the payment commitment, which we discussed earlier. Now, in terms of how do you get a commitment, right? And that's the important part that we are working on right now, which is basically to get a payment authority. Like you might know this, the authority could be a direct debit authority, which is the way we do it. But there is a lot of fear around direct debits authorities, and a lot of this is fairly reasonable, right?
What do you mean fears on that, Ricardo? Can you elaborate a little bit more? Like, why would I be like, I mean, I'm so used to direct debit for my stuff at home, but this might be a different story.
Well, yeah, like if you have like a direct debit authority and you allow a business to use it to charge your bills, that's fairly common. It's easy to manage, cancel, but it's also not your business account, right? Which it's fair enough. Like if you want to first maybe control this a little bit more, or maybe you just don't want to create an authority that allows your supplier to go into your account at any time and take any value out of it, right? Because that's what essentially you need in order to keep collecting the payment for the invoices on their due date. So that is one limiting factor, right? Where sometimes people are just not comfortable. Businesses are just not comfortable giving that authority. And secondly, what is in it for them in the sense of like, is there any advantages for me in doing that? And that sometimes that would be enough, just the fact they do not have to worry about it. And that they're never going to get like on stop credit, for example, because everything just happens automatically, and they were going to maintain good relationships and maintain their terms, right? That could be reason enough, but we are also looking at what ways can we create options, right? Because every business is different and we need to recognize that. So what are the options that make sense for your business to offer your customers that would help create that willingness to provide a strong commitment? And because once you get that commitment, then you are much safer in relationship to getting paid. And that gets you to 0 days.
Should I be showing the next slide now?
You should, yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Sorry.
No, just kidding. So this is just a simple form, if you can see, but the one important thing that you can see there is that this is a specific authority, is leveraging the technology of direct debit, but it's putting a little bit more shape to it and saying, look, this is specific for this order. Like, we're not asking you to give us an authority to charge you for whatever, whenever. Like, you are making this purchase today, right? So we just want to make sure that we have a payment method so we can collect that value for this order on a future date, which is based on the terms. So this will, of course, be based on the account terms. And then you can see in blue on the bottom left there that says for the sales orders 100432 for this amount on this date, right? So you're just essentially getting a single transaction authorization to process this, and it respects all the terms of your customer account, right?
I like that. It's very specific and customized to that specific.
It
specific
is
again, customer.
Yeah, and you can incorporate, and also we need to recognize the current state of the B2B and understand that not necessarily everyone will have an e-commerce store where you can just embed this. So this is something that you will be able to incorporate into your processes, and that's when we were talking about interdepartmental collaboration at any point where our order is placed, be it like a purchase order that came through an email, a phone call, or if you have an e-commerce store, when you say, okay, I want to pay on account, and it can be integrated there, you don't need to take any payment on that day. You're just saying, just give me a commitment that you're going to pay, and then we'll fulfill the order. We'll write that to the system. So it's saying, okay, this has been acquired, so you can then not worry about it and process and fulfill that order without further concerns.
It's a very smart, simple, smart contract.
This is a very simple smart contract. That's a very simple case, right? But if we move on to the next slides, like there are other situations that can be a little bit more complex. So let's say,
oh, sorry.
I'll go back one.
Yeah.
Right. Let's say you have a more complicated process where you take a deposit initially, and then you want to break the remaining balance into 2 different installments. So we can have the commitment be flexible in order for you to achieve that, for example. So say, okay, today we only take this amount, and then we'll split the remaining balance into different portions there, right? So you'll be able to configure terms that work for your business in relationship of what is your process, right? So that you can keep using your process while integrating technology and a stronger commitment to pay within that process.
It's like splitting payments, right?
That is very similar to splitting payments. So it's well, essentially it is. It's just depending. For example, we could do things like that are event-based, right? So for example, let's say we collect a deposit today, and then we do a charge when the stock is available for shipping, right? So we could do
different
things
scenarios,
like that.
so we could
different
cater
scenarios.
for, right?
Yes.
Ah, that's very good. Yeah, I like that.
And if we move then to the next one, another thing that we are working on is incorporating additional incentives as well, right? So for example, you'd say, well, if I can get such a strong commitment from my customer that he's going to pay, he's willing to give me that automation and save, that's going to save you so much time and effort, right? Not just from the collecting the payment automatically, but all the automation we can integrate throughout the process because you got that the commitment to pay. So maybe it's worth offering them a small discount. Now I added 5% there. You can see that the last installment there has a 5%. It doesn't need to be. Of course, this will be configurable, but like it's something to also change the mindset of how much is it worth it, or what is the cost that you currently have by having to do all these manual tasks, all the chasing, the calling, all the frustration of like not being able to reach someone, or someone saying, hey, I'll pay you next week, and managing that on your books so that you don't, accidentally chase someone that already told you that it's going to pay. Like all these little relationship pains that can happen. Like, what is the cost of it, right? And what is it worth it? Like, if you could eliminate it, is it worth it giving them a little bit of a discount? And again, it's flexible because it depends on the business, but you'll be able to include that into the configuration of the commitment that you want to offer, and that will respect the terms of each different account.
That's a really interesting question, Ricardo, because when you think about it, some of our clients complain like, oh, we give this account 30-day credit term, but they pay 90 days, right? Yep. So is that 90 days worth a 5% discount or more? Probably more, Nick, right?
Yeah, I would say more, me personally, but yeah, looking after the finances.
More.
But yeah, the team, I mean, we've got great paying customers. We use a lot of our own technology, so we don't have this pain maybe as acutely as some of our clients, but it always gets better when they come on board and use ezyCollect. But it's it's still it's very, you know, the time and the cost of that, what you can do with that money if you had it 60 days earlier, i.e. on the 30 days, or even, you know,
or on time,
on time, is ginormous. So yeah, I believe I believe, you know, there's real scope for that as a incentive for customers, but it's each and different. It works and operates differently for different you know, industries, and you know we've got but I think a lot of our technology does play across different industries. The example Ricardo you talking about before was, you know, the kind of part payment up front was I think sort of like some manufacturers sort of that we work with, but it can be used for wholesalers, auto parts, etc.
Distributors, definitely.
Absolutely anything. If you've got a payment where you know, a process whereby you need staged payments and it can be linked to projects or deliverables, whatever it might be, you know, we can configure that kind of setup such that the payment trigger runs based off of those. And I think that sort of peace of mind to know that, hey, once we hit this point and we agree, then it's triggered, is great. From a business, it's, you know, it's sort of set and forget. I mean, no one really ever forgets to collect cash, but you know, you can be knowing it's happening in the background for you.
Yeah, and I think it's also good because with this sort of like payment plans, or like you get the commitment prior, then you can forecast like on these dates, right? You start forecasting the cash that you actually be getting in, and start planning and, you know, investing that to other parts of your business, right? Which is really key. As we always say, cash flow is king. So, you know.
And cash flow reliability, right? Being more confident about when the cash flow is coming in certainly can help your financial planning.
Yeah, because gone are the days, or at least we'd like to say like, okay, 30-day credit term, they're not going to pay you, you know, within 30 days. Maybe some will do, but when you have this, then it gives you that confidence and that little bit peace of mind that, yep, on the 21st of March, I'll be getting this plus this and all of these things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And only because it came up yesterday, and Jane and I were discussing it with your client, you know, if you capture a credit card as a direct debit and a commitment to pay, and you know, what if that credit card changes? We all get issued new cards. What happens? You know, there's smarts behind the scenes to basically move that credit card onto being the new credit card numbers. So
automatically updates, right?
Automatically updates. You know, you're not having to go back out to the customer to kind of reinitiate a direct debit under the new card number, etc. It's a card update happens behind the scenes seamlessly between us and the banks, and it all happens. So if you collect it once with those details, that's for, you know, until the life of that direct debit is then ceased. It's you don't have to worry about recollecting or reinitiating that authority.
Just to add to that though, Nick, if ever though, I know that some clients want to use multiple credit cards. There is that functionality to be able to, you know, add more credit cards and choose which one they want to use at the time of purchase. So that is definitely available as well. Yeah. Sorry, we stepped in there, Ricardo, and your roadmap. Is there anything else that you're here to cover? Just want to make sure we're on time so that we can go through some questions or any other.
Yeah. Just one note, because we were talking about it. Of course, you can see this form is a credit card form, but that does not mean that the solution is only credit card. So of course, you can get payment authorizations in many different types of payment methods, depending on what you're wanting to offer. And of course, you'll be able to do that to bank transfer with all the cool technology that's coming around with the rollout of NPP. And also perhaps even with a buy now, pay later functionality, where you then can just get paid upfront instantly, and then that chasing happens with the provider in the back. So yeah, that's the only last note that I have to make.
Did you want to maybe, just in case, I mean, explain what NPP is for the team, for the crew online, because they may not know the terminology, and benefits of NPP, or that, because NPP is obviously the underlying infrastructure, right? So yeah, jump in, Ricardo, I'll let you do it.
Yeah, certainly. I think most people would be aware of PayID or OSCO, which is using the NPP infrastructure. So this has been rolling out in Australia for a while now, led by NPPA. But more specifically, what I am talking about is one of that capabilities that's being provided by that infrastructure, which of course we will be on top of it as soon as this is available for general use, which is called Pay2. And this is very important because it is a bank transfer. And so everyone knows about bank transfer. But the biggest difference is that the speed through which the transaction flows from one bank account to the next is remarkably faster. So we're talking about almost instant settlement. So you get paid and you get the money on your account pretty much on the same day through a bank transfer, which also means that there is less fees normally chargeable within the transaction, which is, again, it's beneficial for it's a win-win-win for everyone. And that's one that we are really looking forward. And we'll, of course, also have the payment authorities through Pay2 rails once that is available. So I mean, there's a lot going on with NPP, but if I would pick, I would say that this is the Pay2 is the one that we're really looking forward to use and to make available for all our clients.
Yeah, I sense this is another teaser.
Yeah, the next webinar we're going more detail. And look, just to be clear, you guys probably will have seen a lot about Pay2 and whatnot in the media, but effectively the big four banks in Oz are the kind of cornerstones of the tech, because obviously to pay someone from CBA through to Westpac, both banks need to be able to complete that transaction instantaneously, and we obviously provide the information to direct it. Now, I think CBA is the only one of the big four that's actually set up, ready to go. I believe, talking with the guys at NPP last week, the ANZ and NAB are potentially good for April. That's the current commitment date that they've given. So only a couple more months till that's turned on. Very soon. Westpac has provided some kind of indications it will be, but there is also some, if I talk to colleagues in the market, there is some doubt around that one coming through. But look, you know, we need having 3 on will complete a lot of the, you know, that covers probably, you know, good 50, 60, 70% of users, and that will then start to see that technology really open up and be used more widely. But obviously, just right now, where we've only got CBA, it's only CBA to CBA accounts where it's really a useful tech. So that's why, like I say, you'll have heard about it, but you probably may not have seen a huge amount coming in, and why there's not a huge amount of number of products in market today to use that, make use of that. Cool.
Perfect. So as you can see, we're all pretty excited about all these payment technologies coming out. And here in ezyCollect, we always want to be ahead and, you know, ensure that our clients can actually benefit on these new technologies, right? So in the screen, you can see all our contact details. So if you have any like further questions, you know, that you want to email us, please do so individually. But if you're still here after all this time, thank you so much. We do have some, I can see a question in a Q&A. So let's just go through that. Is there a function available yet to show customer order number in automatic invoice emails and payment reminders? So customer order number, wouldn't that just be the sales order invoice number, Ricardo, or is that
the order related to the invoice? So when the invoice was billed, which is the order number it was related to, I believe that's not included in the again, I would need to verify, not included on the invoice table that we send, but if you have it on your invoice template, so when we send reminders, you can attach the copy of the invoice, and we can definitely make the order customer order number to be on the invoice template, either by taking it from your accounting system or generating with our invoice designer, so that you have that number available for the for your customer. But of course, like we could also take a look at including that just on a table that goes into the reminder itself and add a customer order number column there.
Yep. If that will make it helpful and streamline again to, look at and refer the payments, then something that we could look into. Yeah. Perfect. That's the only question we have. So if you have any other questions, please pop it in now in the chat or in the Q&A. Otherwise, I think that's it. We'll definitely be sending a copy of these webinar recording. And like we say, feel free to email us. And hopefully you enjoyed this fireside chat. Nick, Ricardo, it's been like wonderful and pleasure having this chat with you guys. Any other message for our clients and our audience today?
Transact safe, be safe, and but thanks for joining us. Absolutely, we've enjoyed it. So I hope you've learned a little something. And like to echo Jane's points, like just reach out. We're here. We are real people. If you email those addresses, we will respond. So feel free to jump on, guys. No problem at all.
Yeah, and send us your ideas at any time. And yeah, let's all get paid.
Yeah.
Let's all get paid faster. Thank you all so much. Have a good afternoon and enjoy your day. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Bye.